that's it. This week has just been, there's been so much great stuff going on at this law school this week. We had, on Wednesday, we had an incredible lecture by Richard Lazarus that was, really one of the most illuminating and also entertaining lectures that we've had in a long time. And I will also say incredibly gracious. Richard Lazarus started his teaching career here at the law school, and he wove that into his lecture in a way that was deeply meaningful and touching, I think, to all of us who have either started or built our entire careers here. And for me, it was just a real reminder of the investments that we make in teaching at the law school. And it is just a fact that great law schools like ours have great faculty. And our faculty, as we know, are leaders in their research, and they get accolades and acclaim and awards. Our alumni board saw all of the awards and recognition that our faculty have gotten over just the last 2 months. Our faculty yesterday at our faculty meeting saw just the last month's worth of that kind of productivity and recognition. And that external validation and recognition of our faculty it's critical. But it's also really important that once a year we stop to recognize that the cornerstone of what we do in this law school is fulfill our teaching mission. And the teaching mission is critical to this faculty, because it's critical that our faculty care about their students. It's critical that they care also about how and about what our students are learning inside the classroom. So we do take that pause on this day, on the day that we do our teaching awards. So this is our opportunity to celebrate and to honor those whose contributions have been judged to be exceptional this year. We have so many terrific teachers that honestly, I wish we could celebrate all of our amazing teachers in this law school, because over the course of a year and 2 years and 3 years, our faculty imparts invaluable skills and invaluable knowledge that our students take with them into their long careers. And we're just, all of us, as we walk into our classrooms every single day, I know, because I know my colleagues, I know our faculty, we take that job incredibly seriously. We prepare for it diligently every single day that we walk into the classroom. And so frankly, if we can just take a minute to thank all of our professors, all of our teachers in the room today, and those who aren't able to be here today, that would be terrific. So unfortunately, this is not fourth grade soccer. And so we don't have plaques for everyone, but we do have some. And so we have the ability this year to impart on our faculty who stood out to a selection committee for their teaching this year. This year, the recipients of our individual awards are Alan Becker, Leandra Lederman, Amy Applegate, Jay Krishnan, and Jeff Stake. We recognize exceptional teaching achievements in 2 ways. Several years ago, the trustees of Indiana University created the Trustees Teaching Award to recognize excellent and meritorious teaching that is demanding, effective, and creative. In addition to that, I should say 3 ways. In addition to that, we have an Adjunct Teaching Award, which recognizes that practitioners who are out there doing incredibly impactful work through their practice bring that practice experience into the classroom for our students and teach vital subjects that we don't have the ability to, we don't have the size of faculty or the ability to cover the practical aspects of law in the ways that our adjuncts allow us to do. And so we're deeply grateful to our adjuncts. So we also bestow an award on an adjunct each year. And in addition to that, I will also be privileged to present the Wallace Teaching Award, which is the highest teaching honor that we bestow on our faculty. But before we do that, I would very much like to thank the Wallace family for making this award possible. Wallace was one of our longest serving deans. He served from 1951 to 1966 in that role. He was the 8th dean and was known for relocating the law school from Maxwell Hall to its current residence. At the time of his retirement, he had served the law school for more than 28 years as a teacher and 15 years as dean. And it is a great privilege to get to honor his legacy every year by presenting the Leon Wallace Teaching Award. So before I do that, I would like to also recognize that we've got two special guests with us today. I understand that two of Leon Wallace's grandchildren are with us, not in person, unfortunately, but at least they are with us online. And so Martha Moore and Wally Hayes, I'm so grateful that you're here so that you can see your family's legacy continued here at the law school. If we could please give them a round of applause. I'd also like to recognize our alumni board. Each semester, our alumni from around the country come to visit us in Bloomington in the fall and also in the spring. And during that time, they visit the law school, they reconnect with the school, they help our students, and they remind us how important it is to be great teachers, because the lessons that they learn in law school continue to be with them still today. And so I love that we're able to combine the alumni board's visit with the teaching awards, because it's just it feels like a really wonderful sort of life cycle and circle. And so that is really, really great. Would those of you who are on the alumni board raise your hands so that we can thank you for. We really are grateful for all the ways you serve the law school, and thank you for all of that. Next, I'd like to talk about the committee that selects our teaching award nominees each year, recipients each year. So it's a committee of students that makes that selection. And the committee takes their charge very seriously. I meet with them before, I meet with them at the time that they get their charge. And I know how seriously they have taken it this year. So they review the teaching evaluations of all of our faculty, and they consult with their colleagues and with their colleagues in the student body. It's not just their own, opinions and preferences. And so I know that they were incredibly diligent in their work this year, and I'm really grateful to that. And so let's recognize and thank Ben Bailey and Alexa Rojas and Laura Rusk for all of the time and effort that they put into the selection. So Laura, Alexa, and Ben will present the teaching awards, will help me present the teaching awards this year. Ben is going to present our Adjunct Teaching Award and also the first of our Trustees Awards, and then Laura and Alexa will each present one of the other Trustees Teaching Awards. And then I will have the honor of presenting the Wallace Award. Ben.
Perhaps the most important quality a contract drafter must possess is an extraordinary attention to detail. Professor Becker's attention to detail is unmatched. And through both his in-class instruction and his out-of-class interactions, Professor Becker uses his attention to detail to provide an immensely rewarding experience to his students. As a graduate of this law school, Professor Becker understands what makes the Maurer community special. Like all Maurer professors, he approaches his every class session with seriousness, dignity, and care. Also, like all Maurer professors, Professor Becker brings a tremendous amount of expertise and knowledge to his class. However, his up-to-date and real-life experience in the legal profession gives students a uniquely educational opportunity and makes him a wonderful asset to this law school. For example, the extensive constructive feedback Professor provides on student submissions doesn't really resemble the feedback that most professors provide. Instead, his critiques are styled identically to those that employers will most likely provide to newly licensed attorneys. For students hoping to practice in an area of law that touches contracts, which is going to include virtually all of us, this is beyond valuable. Here's what a current student of Professor Becker said about his transactional drafting class. Professor Becker lays out the tools you need and then carefully guides you down the path toward making your own success. He manages to strike that perfect balance between teaching you and letting you learn. But even though he efficiently increases his students' practical skills, he still manages to embody the best qualities of a traditional professor. Sometimes this is as simple as making a conscious effort to remember students' names. And though I'd only known him for 1 week, it meant a lot to me when on the second week and only second meeting of class, Professor Becker looked me directly in the eye and addressed me by name when asking me a question. It's a privilege to have Professor Becker in class, and I know that I, along with all of his students, will be better lawyers because of our time with him. And it's been just as much of a privilege to get to know Professor Becker. He puts forth great efforts for his students, and this law school and the Maurer community are better for it.
Well, I appreciate this. It's unexpected to say the least. And I'm also happy to have the opportunity to share my experience and stories with people in the class and sort of interact with a younger generation of lawyers. So thank you very much.
Professor Lederman is a one-of-a-kind asset to the Maurer community. She goes out of her way to assist her students in their academic and professional development while being encouraging and passionate about her areas of study. Professor Lederman teaches tax classes and heads up the tax policy colloquium, and her wealth of knowledge and outstanding character make her beyond deserving of this award. In the Introduction to Income Tax class, Professor Lederman braves the difficult task of sparking student interest in tax law. Many would find tax law boring or dry, but Professor Lederman makes it come to life with her passion for the subject. Students find her lectures to be engaging and thought-provoking, and she is also extremely precise in her words. Professor Lederman carefully selects each word and makes sure she corrects any possible misunderstandings that might emerge in class. And this is also true in her tax policy colloquium. There, she invites speakers to present their groundbreaking and cutting-edge work and encourages students to network and interact with specialists in the tax law field. She pushes students to refine their critical thinking skills and writing abilities, all while giving very helpful feedback. And crucially, when she does give this feedback, it's respectful, constructive, and encouraging. It doesn't take long for students to learn that Professor Lederman is a true master in her field. Her lectures demonstrate a deep understanding of tax law, and she is so confident in her subject matter that she can anticipate pitfalls that might occur in class and proactively work to prevent them before they happen. Professor Lederman accepts all viewpoints in her class and respectfully guides class discussions. And of course, she makes sure to pepper her lectures with tax jokes and puns. Outside her in-class work, she's an incredible resource for the promotion of student success. She makes herself available for out-of-class meetings and is extremely diligent at answering her emails when students come to her with questions. She goes above and beyond to help connect students with attorneys and make students aware of exciting opportunities within the tax law field. She also maintains a YouTube channel within the tax law field, or a YouTube channel for explaining tax law. This not only bolsters the students in her classes' understanding, but also serves as evidence for her genuine passion for her work. Here's what two students said about their experience with Professor Lederman. Professor Lederman brings her passion for tax law into the classroom. Through policy discussions and statutory analysis, she goes beyond just teaching her students the law, and she helps them understand why you should care. And another student, I learned so much from Professor Lederman's class. She knows the subject so well and explains the material incredibly clearly. But even more broadly, Professor Lederman taught me reading skills that will benefit me for the rest of my legal career. After her class, I feel so much more well-equipped to decipher complex statutes, regardless of what field of law they apply to. Most importantly, though, Professor Lederman is kind and encouraging to her students. I felt welcome every day in her class, and she went out of her way to give all students her full attention and best efforts. Her class was difficult, but it was also very comfortable. This is entirely due to her teaching ability and the connections she so easily establishes with her students. Professor Lederman is without doubt more than deserving of this award.
Thank you so much. Can you all hear me? I don't know if anyone can hear me. Yes? Okay. Thank you so much, Ben. I think those are about the kindest words that anyone has ever said about me. I'm so sorry I can't be there in person. It's great to see everybody, and I'm really grateful to Marion Connedy and our IT people for including me. So I wanted to thank the student committee and Dean Ochoa. I'm really honored and flattered to receive this award. Teaching is so critical, so central to the mission of what Maurer does, and so close to my own heart. And we have so many terrific teachers at Maurer. Tax is not always singled out for kind words and for honors. So I'm incredibly grateful and thankful for this honor. So thank you so much.
Alexa, do you want to come up? Alexa Rojas will give the next award.
One of the most special things about the Maurer community is that it's the perfect balance of both high academic quality, but also human empathy and, sorry, I might tear up, concerns for advocacy. And I think Amy Applegate just exemplifies that so perfectly. She's a renowned scholar, a fierce advocate, and an esteemed professor. But most notably, she is a person overflowing with passion. Professor Applegate teaches the domestic mediations clinic, and supervises the Viola Talafiero Family and Children Mediation Clinic. Her manner of teaching is both academically rigorous and human-centered, not to mention innovative. Professor Applegate is one of the leading scholars in her field. She's an Ivy League scholar who attended Cornell University for her Bachelor in Arts and Harvard for her Juris Doctorate. She spearheaded the development of and then tested the best methods of screening for a history of intimate partner violence in cases seeking family mediation. The existence of the intimate partner violence between parties in legal proceeding can drastically impact these proceedings. Her screening test helps attorneys and advocates prepare for mediation in the most optimal manner. She and her colleagues have even gone a step further and conducted randomized controlled testing of the effectiveness of these interventions. She's also co-authored many publications in her research area. Her lectures and class center on the law, but they go beyond just the black letter law in an innovative way. Professor Applegate collaborates with psychology scholars to bring a more holistic view of human behavior in legal proceedings. She also encourages students to analyze their strengths and weaknesses, including inviting them to take a personality test to ascertain their unique characteristics. She taught me that I am an ENFP, if anyone knows Myers-Briggs. Then she helps students take these insights in and best apply them to advocacy and teamwork with other students. She has gone above and beyond to serve the Maurer community. When Professor Seth Lawn fell ill, Professor Applegate took the helm of POP without a complaint. She drove directly into the fold, and she leaded cases as well as teaching the PO litigation class. The best part, though, was how genuinely passionate she was about the PO cases. She worked absolutely overtime in preparation for PO hearings. She also inspired her students to similarly give it their all for their clients. It's easy to see from her resume how impressive she is, but a piece of paper cannot truly capture her passion for advocacy and student success. She remembers details about students' personal lives and brings them up when it's relevant to class. Also, she isn't authentically interested in hearing about it. When students face personal issues, she makes sure to support them as best as possible in her classroom. She is attuned to students' academic needs and interests in ways ranging, in an unparalleled way. Her caring nature shines through in ways from surprising in class with donuts to holding space for students after emotionally charged lectures. One moment that one of the nominators had the honor of experiencing with Professor Applegate solidified the decision to nominate her. The nominator was upset after one class and questioning their ability to be a good attorney. Professor Applegate sat them down and told them they would be a fantastic lawyer, even if they had to work harder to get there, and would impact the lives of countless people. She offered continued guidance in the legal field after graduation, and it was a very touching moment. Student nominators have heard similar feedback from multiple other students, a numerous amount, that she is truly supportive of her students' careers in a genuine manner. Frankly, Maurer and the Bloomington community at large is lucky to have an advocate with the brains and heart of a person like Professor Applegate.
Yes, I get to say something.
I will be brief. I am really, as Leandra said, honored and flattered to get this award. Teaching has been the most wonderful professional experience of my life. I love my students. I had Alexa in a couple of contexts. I had other people in multiple contexts. It is really, I've had several interesting legal careers, but this is truly the best career I have ever had. And I think partly it's the collegiality of our faculty and just the amazing attributes of our students who make working just a pleasure every day that we have interactions, which is pretty much every day. Thank you.
Laura Rusk will give the next award.
I would hate to be the person following that presentation, huh? I have the absolute honor and pleasure of presenting this award to Professor Krishnan. He teaches property, the legal profession, immigration law, and comparative legal systems. I have met very few people in my life that emit the positivity, optimism, and kindness that Professor Krishnan does. I do not think I've ever seen him without a smile on his face. If he was having a bad day, you would never know it. And he's the only professor I would ever want to teach me property at 8:25 on a Friday, especially during the first year of law school. Despite property being difficult and a quite overwhelming course, he made it enjoyable. Even if I answered a question completely wrong, Professor Krishnan would say, "Brilliant." And he would continue to explain why I was totally and completely wrong. But he would say it in such a kind and reassuring way that I would never begin to doubt myself. I knew that he would explain the correct answer to me in a way that was easy to understand and that I would learn from being wrong. Because of his approach, I never felt uncomfortable asking questions and when I was confused in class. And I knew that he would encourage me and my classmates in every step of the way. His kindness, compassion, and patience in the classroom is a big reason why this committee thought he was so deserving of this award. I have never met a single student that had anything negative to say about Professor Krishnan. Even though he teaches two of the more challenging courses in law school, property and immigration law, students have expressed that the class was difficult, but never that he didn't do an excellent job teaching it. I personally think this speaks volumes of how students view Professor Krishnan and how tremendous of a professor he is. On top of being incredibly kind and a wonderful professor, one of Professor Krishnan's best traits is that he is incredibly passionate about his job as professor. You can tell he truly enjoys what he does, and it shows through his instruction. It makes class more enjoyable, and the instruction is stronger because he's passionate about the subject matter, and he still finds it interesting even though he's been teaching it for several years. Outside of the classroom, Professor Krishnan is a fierce advocate and trusted mentor for students in affinity groups. Especially because of the underrepresentation in the legal profession and the law school setting, I know Professor Krishnan's advocacy and mentorship means so much to these students who are part of these groups. He's doing what he can to pave the way for the next generation of lawyers, and I am incredibly proud that we have professors like him at Maurer who go above and beyond for students. Please join me in congratulating Professor Krishnan.
Thanks. Well, thank you, Laura. And Laura was brilliant in my class. She was, she was. And thanks to Ben and Alexa, really, this is fantastic. I mean, I've said this to my students before, but this is the most important thing we do. And so it's the reason I'm here, and it's the reason why, I wanted to get into this job in the first place. So I'm really grateful to the fabulous students I have, to my wonderful colleagues, and to this institution at large. Thanks so much.
Congratulations to all of you on your awards. You're incredibly deserving. As I mentioned at the start of the awards, the Wallace Teaching Award stands for the very highest standards of teaching, and the opportunity to make such an award is not only cause for celebration, it is also an important institutional statement on our part. It enables us as an institution to recognize and honor exceptional teaching, because we only have one award to give. It's really an opportunity to recognize exceptional teaching over a long period of years. This year's honoree is Professor Jeff Stake. Professor Stake is a longtime member of our faculty. He teaches property, wills and trusts, and land use controls. He's engaging. He has a popular style that has led to visiting appointments at Illinois, Colorado, Paris 2, the Max Planck Institute, Peking University of Transnational Law, and many other invitations as well. He's been honored with the Trustees Teaching Award both in 2001 and in 2012, and previously earned the Wallace Teaching Award in 1995. I could spend the rest of our time listing only some of Professor Stake's many achievements. But since this award recognizes excellence in teaching, I thought I would read a few comments from Professor Stake's students. One wrote, "In everything he does, Professor Stake demonstrates an unwavering commitment to excellence. Whether it be in the classroom, in the halls, or as many current 3Ls know, in the Zoom room, Professor Stake strives to be the absolute best he can be. But this commitment to excellence goes so much further. More than just an excellent professor, Professor Stake is an excellent person whose care and compassion for his students is plain to see." Another student said, "If I could use one word to describe a typical day in Professor Stake's class, it would be clear." That brought tears to my eyes. With every PowerPoint slide, cold call question, and lecture point, he meticulously guides students through difficult concepts and complex legal principles. Of course, a professor can only achieve such clarity of instruction if he is a master of the subject being taught. Without question, Professor Stake's knowledge of the subjects he teaches is profound and is indeed excellent. Instead of just telling students what the law is, he pushes students to consider what the law should be by introducing measures of efficiency and fairness, thoughtful in-class polls, and of course, the phrase, is not ought. I had to practice that one. But I think it's mine now too. Finally, one of his other students said, Professor Stake, his excellence also extends beyond the classroom to his interactions with students. Though I'm sure being a law professor can be exhausting at times, I have genuinely never seen Professor Stake give a student anything less than his fullest attention and care in conversation. He gets to know his students and goes above and beyond to help his students achieve success, and his efforts to benefit students even extend to those who are not in his classes. This year, Professor Stake helped the Moot Court Board completely redesign the scoring system for competitor briefs and oral arguments. One member of the board said, "Thanks to Professor Stake's expertise and willingness to brainstorm, the new scoring program is now comparable to those used by other leading law schools." Much more could be said about Professor Stake's excellence. His excellent economic analyses, his excellent sense of humor, and his excellent aim when throwing pancakes at students. He is an enormous blessing to the Maurer community and is truly great stuff. It is my privilege to present the 2023 Leon H. Wallace Teaching Award to Professor Jeff Stake.
Thank you all. Thank you all. I'm an extremely lucky human. 38 years ago, I filled out an AALS form to dive into the pool for law teaching. I was lucky to be entering the market at a time when it was not necessary to have published anything. I did not have a research agenda. I did not have even a draft of an idea. At my job talk, I was lucky that the faculty would accept my answer of, I'll have to think about that, to piercing questions that revealed how little I knew about constitutional law. I was lucky that the appointments committee somehow saw that I might fit into the property curriculum. And what a stroke of luck that was, to be assigned to teach the wonderful law, the great stuff of property, to plow the fertile fields of Blackacre for what now seems like an eternity. I was so lucky to land here at Maurer, one of the few law schools with a rich tradition of interdisciplinary thought. I've been lucky to be surrounded by wonderful colleagues that have joined the faculty since my arrival. Across the nation, there are lots of law professors with brains and some without. But effective teaching depends on more than brains. It depends on a commitment to the well-being of students, backed up by hours of preparation as are required to fulfill that commitment. That ethic of valuing teaching so strongly present here at Maurer is essential when the national academic glory comes from publishing. I was lucky to be embedded in such an atmosphere from the moment I arrived, shortly before the passing of Leon Wallace, until the present. So I thank my colleagues for continuing and enriching that tradition of devotion to teaching in the law. And I thank the Wallace family for supporting this award and those generous and foresightful souls who contributed to its creation. I also thank my spouse, Janet, whose love and support have made my teaching possible. Last August, when I was tapping away at my computer, she asked me, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm preparing for class." And she said, "One of these years, you'll get it right." And I'm so lucky I met her. And I thank Allison, my daughter, who's also here with my wife, Janet, for reminding me last night that one of my favorite themes is luck. I thank her, along with my other issue, Laura, Christopher, and Sloan, who've made me lucky by being who they are. I could have retired a few years ago. I'm glad I did not. Indeed, each summer after another year, I've looked back and remembered the questions and comments from our wonderful students. The words of my students have helped me continue to feel young, sort of young. Okay, whatever, at least younger. So I thank all of my students, past and present, for helping me to stay aware of the ideas swirling around me. I like to say that future interests make life worth living, along with butterfat. But it is really you, my students, that have made teaching a wonderful way for me to spend my career. I'm deeply grateful to you for this award. Thank you.
Just looking around, if a quality of an acceptance of an award is the number of dry eyes in the room, I think you just give an incredibly great acceptance. Thank you. Thank you all so much for coming. For those of you who are recipients, I hope you'll come up in the front after we conclude here in just a second. And really, if we can just give one more round of applause, both to our recipients and also to our entire faculty who devote so much to the teaching mission.